do it like we do it.
Hi, guys. Welcome back and happy Monday. Okay, guys. I know last week you guys were saying I was having a week. Man, you weren't wrong. Long story short, I ended up taking myself off camera because I was embarrassed because I broke one of my veneers. Okay. And then I was trying to lie about it because I'm a liar. So I lied. And then I came back and said, you know what? I'm going to own this shit. So now I'm waiting to get things fixed. I was not supposed to be doing this today. I was supposed to be driving down to Florida. Then cue Hurricane Debbie. We just moved to South Carolina. I didn't realize that all of this shit floods. So now we have that problem. And then I was like, there's the one thing that I can control, which is coming on here and enjoying a Real Housewives of New Jersey finale recap. The one thing that makes me happy, and I'll be damned if anybody takes that from me. Watch the Wi-Fi go out. Please do not. Please, I didn't do anything. All right, guys, pop off in the live chat. Let us know where you're watching from and let us know what you thought about the finale. I want to hear what you rate it 1 to 10, but we have a very special guest. She runs Taste of Reality. You saw her last time. I read the comments. You wanted her back. She has the energy. She's bubbly, so much fun, and she knows what she's talking about. Let's welcome, hello, Ashley.
Hello, my dearest Adam. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Oh, I'm so glad to be back. I'm so glad to be talking Jersey. I mean, the ish went off.
My gosh. It literally, like, from the you're a line, see you next day to F her and her son. And I'm like, what is happening? And then finally I did meet up with her. I did talk to her. I was like, you can't make this up. It was like what we waited for all season.
Did you happen to go back and rewatch it?
The episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I watched it last night. I always like to watch it when it's like actually on, and then the next day I go to Peacock so I can miss all of the ads, and then I rewatch it again. And last night I was sitting there looking at it, and because it's storming here, my TV was like pausing, and I'm like, stop freezing frame. And I saw where there was 5 minutes left, and I said, there's no way we're ending off on this, like, because I didn't check to see if it was a supersized episode or not. Right. And Jason's like, no way, it's definitely supersized. And then I saw, and I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God.
Thank goodness. Yeah, we needed that whole episode. And this is one, I don't typically go back and rewatch, but, if I'm going to be on your show, I want to make sure that I'm with it and I know what I'm talking about. With that said, this is the episode to go back and rewatch, because watching Jackie throughout that entire table dinner, like once they start talking about Margaret, once the attention's put on Margaret, they very strategically edited shots over to Jackie, which you might not have picked up on the first watch. Go back and rewatch it, friends, and you are going to die when you see her reaction. She was shaking in her shoes. As Dolores says, she needed a damn diaper.
When she did her walk away, when she did the Teddy Mellencamp, like saunter off, I was like, that is a woman who is walking away. She felt so confident this season. She felt, I am sticking up for this side of the table. I honestly, and you can totally, Ashley, I love having a difference of opinion. So if you have one, then please, by all means. But from my standpoint, watching Jackie this season, I think that Jackie last season was really fighting to not be a friend of. And there was Danielle Cabral and Rachel Fuda and Jen Fessler, who were all introduced. Danielle and Rachel ended up taking the full-time spots. And then this season, she was like, well, the only real way that I can get back in and make a splash is if I change sides, right? Well, then you end up kind of crapping on your friends over here, the ones who really had your back for the longest time. And I'll be damned. Like, karma really is an evil bee. But let's just start from the beginning, shall we?
Let's start at the beginning. Let's close the ending chapter and go back to the beginning, because there is so much to talk about.
Oif, Adam, be nicer about Teddy. JW, I'm trying. I'm a work in progress.
But the fact that you just came right out of the gate with Teddy's saunter, as you so eloquently said.
It was eloquently said.
It's true. It's true. And you know what, I'm sorry, we're going to go right back to the beginning. But Jackie, do you know what she looked like in that scene? She looked like one of those, inflatable things outside of the car dealership.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, but like all the air was taken out. She was like the deflated, like she had been doing this and it just deflated. And we saw a deflated puppet
She
going to
went
her car
home and cried for sure. Like
after she didn't dance the whole way home.
I don't want Judas Jackie to cry, like, and I didn't say that, Cassie, you and Margaret said that, but back to the beginning, we get where Dolores ends up showing up to Margaret's house with Jen Fessler, and Margaret greets Dolores at the door with the sage because she's like, "You're not bringing in that devil energy over here." Well,
did she have a forest of sage? Because that's what was necessary.
I mean, this conversation, obviously we see the preview, so we knew how it was going to go, but I just couldn't believe how it went there so quick. Like Dolores and Margaret, I was watching reruns from way back when. Do you know the last time we saw the ladies at Rail Steakhouse? Do you know what episode that was?
I've been watching the reruns as they air too. Was it like 6-ish?
It was, well, I don't know the exact season, but it was when they introduced Siggy and Dolores, and Jacqueline Larita came in and she said, "I want to talk to you, Teresa, one-on-one without anybody else here." And Teresa was like, "No, you have something to say." And she's like, "No, you will talk to me here with no one else." And Teresa's like, "I don't owe you anything, bitch. Like, get out of my what are you talking about?" So Real Steakhouse, Dolores, why would you host it there? Like, it already has bad juju. Okay. Somebody should have saged the hell out of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Bad. The was bad.
I'm sure the food's great, guys, at Real Steakhouse, by the way. But so as we're sitting there, and I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, my God, they're such great friends. But then I remember back to the first season that Dolores was on with Siggy, and she defended the hell out of Siggy against Margaret. Like, she was not friends with Margaret. They ended up forming this friendship over time and became really great friends. Last night, watching that episode, I felt like we went straight back to the beginning when it was, "You're lying, see you next Tuesday." I'm like, Dolores, where did that, where did that aggression just come from? And I guess she's at her wit's end. You can totally tell. But what were your thoughts in this scene?
I mean, I thought I was having a gremlin situation. Like, was it after midnight? Did she get wet? Did she eat food? Like, how did she instantly go from like a normal functioning person into a mad gremlin? I don't understand. I understand that she is tired, exhausted. I think we're all tired and exhausted, even from the peripheral. So I can't even imagine how she feels. With that said, like, we're grown-ass people. And at some point, like, we have to be responsible for our own behavior, and we just can't blame. The thing is, and this is my frustration with this show, there has been no growth. These humans have not shown growth. And last night just proved the language they use towards each other. Like, we are not getting better as human beings. No. And I think most of us at this point in life, like, we're like, you know what? Just because this is who I was doesn't mean I can't do a little bit better every day. We're not going to be perfect, but like, it doesn't feel like any of them are work in progresses.
No. And you know what I don't understand is no one is going to stand in between me and my paycheck. Like, I'm putting food on the table for my family. My family is prioritized over any of these other, like any of the other relationships in my life, because that is my family. And, your family relies on you, especially like, obviously I have a husband and I have 5 animals. I have a freaking zoo. And, I have moms coming in and out where, like, when they come in town, they take care of our animals. So we want to make sure that, like, they're not spending a bunch of money to be here because they're doing us a favor. Like, you're always constantly worried about making sure that things are good. So you just don't let people stand in the way of that. And for this, my point, and I swear I'm getting to it, is you ladies just had to figure out the resolution, because that was what was standing away from your 6-7 figure paychecks. And I don't mean just the contract that you get from New Jersey, but I mean the social media, the ads, the promos, the Super Bowl commercial, you know what I mean? Like, the things that come with being on TV. You guys just literally threw that out the door because you can't be grown and have a conversation. Like, you're screaming at each other. You're screaming, "See you next Tuesday." You're throwing things across the table. We went from happy housewives to straight mob wives.
Well, that's the thing. That's how I felt. I felt like I was watching Mob Wives, like, and I feel when they talk about Jersey, like, where do we go from here? I feel like the Jersey that we've seen represented on reality TV has been so narrow. We've seen Jersey Shore, which at least they all come back together as a family, even though they're not physically like blood family, but they all do come back to each other for the most part.
Not
We
the
saw
trash
Mob
bag
Wives.
luggage. Yes.
Yeah, we watch Teresa and the Godfather lifestyle that she claims to live, where family's first, but meanwhile she's cut family out. Like, it just, the math doesn't math, none of it makes sense, and it was a ride. This season was a ride, and I have to say, I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad that they did. I thought it was going to be a disaster this last episode. I thought it was a great episode.
I thought it was a great episode, and what it reminded me of. Did you ever watch Mob Wives?
I watched it in and out. I wasn't like a big fan, but I'm familiar.
The final episode where Drita walks in and she goes, "Get up, Karen," and throws her bag on the table, and it just like goes straight into, okay, we're getting gangster on each other. That's what it gave me in this episode. But okay, back to the conversation with Margaret and Dolores as we digress and then regress.
Again.
What was your who do you think got this right? Because Margaret swears we had a conversation, Dolores. We did. And Dolores is like, you are a liar. And we never had that conversation. Margaret's like, I'm a lot of things. I'm not a liar. We did have the, I don't know why you're getting so worked up. And Dolores is like, she's pissed. And it kind of made me wonder, did you just come off of, you know, getting into a fight at home? Did something happen with Polly? Like, because that amount of energy, it didn't match the crime. You know what I mean? Like it like you said, the math ain't mathin'. But I have been guilty in the past where I've been in a situation and maybe I'm arguing with my family. Sometimes my brothers and I, we butt heads. We're siblings, right? And then I'll have to go to either a family function or an event or a party or something. And I'm not in a great mood. And little things can just like, I've learned, I've grown. Where I just like, I'm like, I got to walk away from this situation. But sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do, especially when you have a camera in your face. And I couldn't even imagine that. I just think that there was more to the story before she got there, where she was already in a pissed off mood and she was going there like, this is going to be a moment. That's kind of what it felt like. And I think that she was just waiting for Margaret to hand her the bullet, and Margaret handed it to her.
That she did, you know, and it just seemed like a matter of semantics. And I mean, shall we say, proof, receipts, timeline, screenshots. It was a matter of, no, I didn't talk to her at this point. I talked to her later that year. So it was like, yes, we had the conversation, but you said the conversation was this month. But in reality, the conversation was in this month. So that's how, like, it was all just semantics. It was a loophole in the conversation. So I'm not looking at the big point. I feel like they were grasping at straws, and they're all, I think at this point, everybody's just trying to win an argument. That's how it feels. We just want to be right.
Everybody was trying to win an argument. All right. So now going over back to the conversation, Margaret did admit that she had conversations with Vanessa Reiser, but they were through DM. She said, you know, like, I didn't go meet up with her. It was nothing like that. And Margaret did own the fact that bet your ass the moment that my son was being harassed, I was going to figure, and I found out that there was a PI involved. I was going to also do some digging. And I looked at that and I'm like, oh, so this is pretty much an eye for an eye. Okay. Yes. That's Housewives. Housewives is an eye for an eye. It just depends on how dirty they want to take it. And then we end up moving on. So when the girls went over to the Fuda's house, and Melissa was so glad to see that John Fuda was happy and healthy and all of the things, Danielle drops another sort of bomb, if people look at it that way, talking about how Teresa seems like a shell of herself. Like, she doesn't seem happy. The home doesn't seem like a happy home, that things kind of like she's 90 pounds soaking wet. Rachel Fuda pops in and says, that's the Ozempic. And Danielle's like, no, like there's something like not right here. And I get a lot of crap, and I don't know how people respond to you, especially when you go on your site, Taste of Reality, and you write about certain things. I don't know how people respond if they're like, oh, well, Ashley, it seems like you hate Teresa, or Ashley, you're a Teresa fan, because it's always going to be one side or the other. I feel like there's no real like middle ground in Housewives. People want you to pick a side. You don't really get to be Switzerland unless you're Dolores. And so while watching this episode and seeing Louie get so heated and saying F Margaret and her son, and I'm like, this guy is so aggressive, and not just
Ugh.
aggressive. What's alarming about it is he's like, okay, guys, come in here. I want us to get together as men, and I want us to confess our love for our wives, and I want us to record something really quick. And then we go back to the video where he's like sitting there shirtless with a bunch of men at this camp saying, I'm going to be a better husband for you. I'm going to do better for you. And then it goes from like this like love bubble to fuck this, fuck you, fuck them, get the fuck out of my face. And I'm like, you are giving me legit whiplash. And I find him to be very terrifying and alarming. I'm like,
I get the ick is so minor. Like, ick doesn't start with Louie. He's terrifying. Like,
he's
he is
terrifying.
like you said, you're scared. I think we're all scared. I think we're, as a non-Teresa fan, I don't want anybody to not be okay. I don't like her on the show. I'd rather not have her on my screen. I want her to have a happy, healthy life. I want her children to have happy, healthy lives. I worry when Louie is in the picture. He is a really sketchy dude. And the way he talked about Margaret and her son, to say that for him to say that he wished that they were not with us anymore, is psychotic, sociopathic, psychotic. No, that's psychotic.
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy about it is, even though we didn't watch what happened to Dina Manzo on our screens, people are capable of very scary things. Like, we know that her ex and everything that happened with breaking into the house and tying her up and tying up her new husband and beating them. And like, people are scary. And sometimes when people get pushed to a point, maybe they'll make sure that their hands are, clean, but they'll get somebody to do the bad deed. You just don't know what people are capable of. And we, as viewers, sometimes think, because we're so invested into some of the Bravo talent, like even watching Gia grow up, that we know them so well, when the harsh reality is we don't really know them. We know a very condensed, edited version. We don't know what it's like, dinner conversation or coffee talk with them. We're not a part of that. So we know what Bravo wants us to see them as in their character. They always have a villain. They always have I'm not a big fan of Jax Taylor. Jax was always the villain on the show because he was a great villain. But sometimes, even though I cannot stand him, he did have soft moments where I would talk to him and he could be an okay person. It was not very often, but there were those moments, I mean,
Right.
not to be, like,
well, and it's true. And like, I'm not a Teresa fan, but like one of my favorite moments of the whole season, this was such a little thing, like 2 or 3 episodes ago in the very beginning, when she was giving her dogs treats. And she was like, okay, well, you're a good dog. And you took so, and she was just like communicating with her dogs. And it was so sweet and so endearing. And that's what I love. It was such a human moment for Teresa. And you just don't see that side of Teresa when I feel Louie is around. Like, look at the pictures from Greece. Look how staged they are. They don't look like a happy couple. And that's even despite the rumors that there was like some big blowout fight that they had. The way they pose, I feel like I'm Meredith Marks right here. We're just posing for the cameras. But yeah, I get a really bad feeling in my gut when it comes to Louie.
yeah. Well, and another thing that I don't like, I have 11 brothers and sisters, like no full, but half. I have a big family. And sometimes, like, oh my God, Jason and I now have a rule, like, no Thanksgivings. We don't go to Thanksgiving because that's when all the family gets together. Every time there's a knockout, drag out. One year, my sister got dragged behind a golf cart. Another year, my other sister beat up one of my sisters. Like, one year, like, it's just like, it's always a knockout, drag out. And shit hits the fan. You would think that we're just like a big Italian family, and we're not. We're just like sometimes crazy.
Get Andy in a camera, please.
I mean, Jesus. But with Jason would never say to me, don't talk to your family. You know what I mean? Like, it's when I have conversations with him, he's like, you don't get to choose your family. This is your family, and you choose how much you want to make it work. But one day, one of you guys is not going to be here anymore, and you don't want to have that guilt of not trying to repair certain situations. You never want to write somebody off. And sometimes, sure, it's okay if it's that toxic, but Joe Gorga's like no Ted Bundy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's that bad. I just think it's like, I think that if Louie was not in the picture, there would be a way to forge a path forward. And the only reason I'm not blaming Melissa here is because when Louie was not in the picture and Joe went to prison and Melissa and Joe were helping out Teresa, they were able to do that. You know what I mean? And she was a huge proponent of her husband getting along with his sister at that time. At least that was the edited version that we saw on TV. So now we see Louie comes off a little weird with the dad's pajamas things and some of the things that he says. Then we had the pizza gate, the pizza oven gate. That was another situation. And then out of this, it's like all of the exes come forward, and then Joe started questioning those things at one of the finales, and then that became more of a problem. And I think what Louis saw was, okay, like, this is my woman, and now you're standing in my way. I'm going to eliminate you. That's what it feels like. Like it's a control tactic.
Right. And like, I'm not a psychiatrist at all, but I read a lot of books, and that's like a whole psychological. What's that?
I said Louis' exes.
Yeah, really. And she should probably write a book. Like, sign me up. Like, I'll go to the book signing and everything. Like, yeah, there's a lot of very significant psychological issues that I hope are tended to for everybody's well-being.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my Miss America answer.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. Guys, 1,000 people in the room. Smash the like button, show some love. And at the end, we're going to tell you where you can find Ashley if you're not already reading it on the screen. That's why normally I don't put the names up, but I want everybody to go support. Okay. So as we move forward, what was, aside from the dinner, what were your thoughts about the way that they kept going in and out of the black and white frames? Like, I knew that this was going to be edited. Personally, this is what I thought. It was going to be edited to look like the end of an era. The minute that they opened up the show with the intro and the intro turned to black and white, I was like, oh, this feels like the end. But I wanted to hear your thoughts.
Oh, absolutely. And can I just say, chef's kiss, bravo to bravo. The cinematography, the music, the tone that they put forth this episode, production did their job. As apprehensive as I was going into this, I give it a 5-star. I loved the way, and it was just like, I don't feel surprised the going back and forth and seeing the history. I thought they did a really nice job of doing all that throughout the episode. I found it very surprising when they did that on Vanderpump Rules. Even though the show wouldn't have been around probably without Scandival, I feel like it was, wow, oh my gosh, Vanderpump Rules, this might be it. When they did it for Jersey last night, it didn't feel like a surprise at all, because like we knew that this could not only be the series finale, or I'm sorry, the season finale, but in fact the series finale, which it could be, who knows? And I think because Bravo doesn't know what they're doing, they said they're even shelving the idea. I think they use the term on ice, that they're putting everything for Jersey on ice until 2025, which is only a few months away. But I'm thinking like well into the year. They're not making any decisions. And I think that's the best thing possible. I think things need to die down. This is really embarrassing for Teresa, but the fact that like 2 of her friends were like, oh, well, Teresa, she's not too bright. Well, they didn't say those words, but they were like, oh, she might not be upset with Jackie right now, but it'll eventually hit her that this was really bad. Like, I don't like making fun of people's intelligence. Like, I just think that's really, really low hanging fruit, and that doesn't feel good. But when somebody comes off as confident and unwilling to listen, as Teresa does,
yeah. No, that makes sense. And you know, to be fair, just to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, sometimes not everybody is quick. You know, like Candace Diller Bassett on Potomac, that woman is quick. She's a wordsmith and she cuts. And if you catch her, you say something to her, she doesn't need to know what you're going to say, but she's going to rebuttal that immediately. She's going to clap back, and it's like, oh shit, like, you didn't write that down? Where did you come up with that?
She's a brilliant woman. Reading is fundamental, and she is the epitome of that.
I mean, and then you have Teresa and her 4 daughters, and she is more of like a processor. She's someone who she needs to take that information, like Jen Aiden was saying last night, take the information, sort of digest it, and then kind of move forward and then see how she's going to react to it. But you don't really have a chance to react to it after this episode, aside from the final, I guess, re-filming at Rail Steakhouse, which, by the way, before we move on, I think that this was a big L for Bravo. I think they made a huge mistake not filming the reunion. I think that Andy Cohen, personally, I think that Andy Cohen could have had a very constructive conversation with them, because when I was at BravoCon 2 years ago, Andy Cohen pulled the Real Housewives of Dubai, I'm not going to say which ones, but pulled them aside and had a conversation with them and told some of them that they need to fix this and figure out a way to move forward and have resolution, or they're going to put the nail in the coffin of the show. And he was very transparent with them. Now, could he have had these conversations with New Jersey already? Yeah, sure. But I think that his job is sometimes to serve as a mediator. And I think that that would have been a great opportunity for everybody to get out what was on the table. I would love to hear Jackie kind of talk about what happened with inviting Vanessa to her house and see Teresa actually react on a reunion stage, as opposed to like watching it at Rail Steakhouse. I would love to see Margaret kind of chime in a little bit more as to what her conversations were with Vanessa and get like a little bit more in depth. I would love to see Louie face all of them. And yes, would there be conflict? Sure, 100%. But maybe it would have been like the one last ditch effort to have the resolution. And I feel like the reason that they did not do that was because it was too costly, and they think that they weren't going to get anywhere with it. So they didn't want to spend the money on it.
Well, I don't think they would have gotten anywhere further than they got yesterday. And we saw that they even had to hire security at Rails. They had to bring in their own security. Like, this is insane. We are grown adults. This is not an elementary school playground. It's just absolutely asinine where we ended up going with this show. You know, I have to respectfully disagree with you. I don't think a potential reunion would have gotten us anywhere.
Okay.
And Dolores did an interview. I'm trying to remember exactly where she said this. I guess she was on Watch What Happens Live recently, so I'm sure it was on Watch What Happens Live. But she was saying, I forgot what my point was to this. I'm having a moment. What were we
Dolores
talking
was
about?
saying on Watch What Happens Live.
She was doing an interview. Okay, I lost my train of thought, so I apologize for that. It happens.
Listen, it happens to me all the time. As we were just talking about Teresa, like not being able to.
Well, that's why I don't like attacking low-hanging fruit, because hello, like, I'm no better. Like, are any of us? I really try not to, because of things like that. And yeah, there are many a times I will open my mouth and insert foot, but the difference is I admit when I'm wrong. I say I'm wrong. I say, hey, you know what? There's no, and I'm sorry, but there's not the however. I made a mistake. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah. Well, you know, I feel like the cast knew too, because production must have been in their ear the way that they were talking about this being like the Last Supper, and how they feel like this is like one of the last times that they're all going to be breaking bread at the same table, or breaking glasses, or ordering drinks together. It's almost like production, because some of my good friends that I have in LA are on Vanderpump Rules, and they were told during season 10 and 11 that this is it. They were told, like, if you guys, I mean, they even held a meeting during season 11 saying, like, you guys are not being authentic to what it was. Like, that's what made it so successful. Now it just kind of seems like you guys are, you know, trying to contrive these storylines, and this doesn't feel organic. And production will pull them and have these conversations. And I'm wondering, because of the way it was filmed, with all of them being like, well, this feels like the end. Like, they knew. They had to have known.
Well, and that reminds me what I was going to say earlier. This is why I think it was good that they didn't have the reunion. And I think it's the best thing for the cast. And this is why. Dolores said in that interview how stressed out she was and how stressful the reunions are. This is not uncommon with any franchise on Bravo. The reunion is like a real heavy moment. The fact that Teresa, in addition to being Ozempic, she's so stressed out to where she weighs 90 pounds soaking wet. I think this is all the drama has taken such a toll on this cast. I don't think it would have been healthy for any of them mentally to go into that situation, spend a day to get absolutely nowhere. I'm really glad that it ended as it did. And I was apprehensive, but I'm on a different page as you on this one.
No, but when you start talking about mental health, I think that's obviously a very real thing. Especially the way it applies to reality TV talent, because a lot of like what we go through in life, it's not on a public stage. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's not for everybody to scrutinize. Like a lot of the time, guys, my face is so itchy. I'm so sorry. I found out this weekend. Again, I digress. I go to the gym every morning and I'm allergic to the rubber mat. So I break out every morning and I'm like, God. So then I have to take allergy med. It's a lot. So I'm just itching my face and I'm sorry for touching it. I don't want you guys to comment weird things.
Don't get weird in the comments,
Yeah,
friends.
don't get weird in the comments. But I do, mental health is, it's, people really, really struggle with it, especially when everybody is criticizing what's going on behind closed doors in your home, what's going on with your family, even on a small platform like YouTube, like this for me. I've had people say really nasty things about my relationship, and it's not easy. Sometimes I spiral from it because I'm like, this is so mean, and I just want to come on and talk about housewives and fun things. I don't know why people are doing this. And I can see where the network eventually has to step in. They have to make that decision to be like, okay, enough. So I
Right.
get what you're saying. I think that was a great point.
Thank you. And, to kind of just go further on that, like, did you see that interview that Sheena did backstage or on the red carpet at Sutton's fashion event? I love me some Sheena. Girlfriend understands the assignment. I'm not saying this to be disrespectful. You can tell she is stressed to the max. I could not believe how Sheena just didn't look like she had her usual sparkle. The good as gold sparkle in her eye just wasn't there. Like, this pause that VPR is on is taking a toll on her. And I just feel like from that interview with Dolores, I was like, yeah, you know what? This is weighing very heavy on them.
Well, even for Sheena, don't kill me. We love you, Sheena. Sheena supports a lot of people in her family, and she employs some of her family. And then also, she is the primary person who is bringing in the paycheck, because Bravo doesn't pay Brock to be on Vanderpump Rules. So
Why?
it's kind of like, Sheena, you either film with your husband or we give you a lesser role, but we're not paying him. So either he films or you get a lesser role. And that's just it. So then her paycheck goes down, but there's really
Right.
no, like, he's not getting financially rewarded. He's just reaping the benefits of what she is getting financially from being on the show. Then the girls go out and buy $3 million homes. Like, this is insane to me. And the reason it's insane is, one, it's so expensive to live in California anyways,
Right.
especially with the property taxes, the state taxes, federal taxes. Then you have all of the things that the coverage that you have to get for living there with earthquakes and fires. And and you don't know if your property taxes, they just hike up every year. Things just get more and more expensive. And she has the house in Palm Springs and has the $3 million house that now she has a mortgage on, along with Lala. And it's like, how could you not be freaked out right now with these
Obviously.
massive mortgages? Like, I would
Right.
I would be crying inside.
The good thing is that houses are great investments. If the worst case scenario is that they have to turn around and sell a house, I doubt that they would do anything lower than break even. It would be a point of pride more than anything for both of them. But I don't see as buying houses being like the worst investment. I just think that they should have been more mindful. Lala, well, I know Lala has her family like literally like living with her, but like Ariana's booked and busy more than anybody on Bravo, and she bought a house that was like 1.7 million.
And she put 800 down.
Right. I mean, she's just my idol because like I want a new house. And like there's no way in hell that I'll be able to buy a new house without selling the house that I'm in because I need to use that money to pay for the next house. Like this
Yeah.
girl's doing the damn thing. And I
Well,
love this journey for her.
even like James Kennedy too, and guys, we're gonna get back to New Jersey, but even James Kennedy bought a very modest house that he could afford.
Mhm.
Modest for, I'm saying what they're making, the paychecks, because he could have bought a more expensive house. I'm sure he would have been approved for it because he's been on the show for as long as he has, and money was coming in, and this was all before his DJing gigs, and he still, that was a house that made sense, and people were laughing at him because the airplanes are going over the backyard or whatever. Now he's making a shit ton of money, and he's probably going to buy a $2-3 million house here in the next 2 years cash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he's
He's
going to be able
smart.
to afford it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's going to, because it's called living within your means. Speaking
Mhm.
of living within your means, I wanted to go back to Teresa and Louie for a second because since Louie's been on the show, we still don't actually know what he does, right? We've just been kind of taken around in circles on what he does, but we
And
don't
shout
have a
out to
definitive.
I know you were at BravoCon in Vegas too. Shout out to the lady who at BravoCon, the most recent one, said, Louie, tell us what you do in 10 words or less. Guess who couldn't do it? If you ask anybody, tell me what you do in 10 words or less, they can tell you. Like Jen
You
Shaw
too.
couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Telemarketing scheme.
Pretty much. Exactly.
But
Exactly. His are
yeah,
pyramid scheme, side hustle. Yeah, we
I
could
mean,
keep going.
yeah, we could keep going. YouTube podcast husband for a baby owner. Baby owner. Yes. Really, it's
Yay!
not that hard. And then the financial, the insurance fraud claims that Dana Wilkie just came out with, which I talked to her about, and I'm like, so now they're being accused of this is what they're accusing, which by the way, I am not saying that this is fact. I don't know. I don't know their business. I'm telling you guys, if you didn't listen to Dana Wilkie's Patreon, this is what she said was that
Mhm.
when Teresa's Mercedes was stolen out of the driveway, the cameras were conveniently off. Okay. That she get right, Kyle, Dorit, Teresa.
Mhm.
The cameras were conveniently off. The car ended up disappearing. And Dana said that Teresa gave Louie $100,000 to pay off the car. Well, then went after that and said that they believe, or it's believed, that Louie ended up spending the money and needed to figure out another way to pay off the car or get some money back. So had the car stolen in order to get the insurance money. Could that be true? I mean, people do it every single day. Am I accusing him? No. Am I fascinated by the story? Yeah, because if he in fact is worth millions of dollars, why would you need to do that? And then on top of that, with her saying that he's worth millions of dollars, no offense to Teresa, but when everything was happening with her and Joe Judice, we watched her up until the point that she got so pissed off at him over her mom and losing that time with her mom when she went to prison. We watched her back the hell out of that man, saying, this is
Mhm.
not true. This did not happen. This is not a real case. My husband's going to be vindicated, all while knowing this was very much so true. You're sitting in an attorney's office and they're mapping out, you are going to prison. One of you guys is doing jail time. You're going to be deported probably. And this is a big deal. But she even still lied to the cameras because she was going to be loyal to her husband at the time. And I wouldn't be shocked if she was going to carry that same loyalty into her new marriage and protect Louie. I feel like Teresa partially feels responsible for people attacking Louie because she's on a show and a platform that he didn't ask for, when in all actuality, you did, because she was very much so Teresa Giudice when you met her, who has been on TV for years. She had a background before you even knew her. You didn't just marry her and then all of a sudden, like Joe Giudice, like he was taking care of her for 7 years and then production comes in, or however many years, I just threw out a number. Then production comes in and says, hey, we want to offer you a job. And then you grow through that together. She was who she was, you know? So you
Yeah,
can't feel bad for that. You signed up for it.
she is who she is, and the woman doesn't learn lessons.
Oif.
I mean, she
Oif.
literally married one fraudster to go to another. And I have
Well,
to say something, and this might be dark. I did wear my funeral attire, and for the record, I had planned my funeral attire before I saw the episode. But as we were looking at all the clips last night of just, all the different scenes from over the years, I had the realization, and I'm sorry, this sounds morbid, but I think the show died with Teresa's parents. That's when I feel like the heart of the show just kind of evaporated after their unfortunate passings. And I don't think the show ever really got back on track because the heart broke.
wow. That was some deep shit, Ashley.
Thank you.
I, by the way, too, dressed for a funeral today. I even brought my black pants, but instead I just wore my black underwear because you guys can't see the lower half of me.
Oh, you have no idea what's happening south of this countertop.
No. Okay. Okay, guys. We're gonna stop being
Sorry
weird on
for the
you.
visual
Sorry, we can't
people
help
out
it. We
there.
can't
I'm
help
so
it.
sorry.
But yeah, no, I do find it to be very alarming. I think that also Teresa's daughters are very, very smart. I think Gia is very smart. I think that they can see certain things. I'm sure they have certain conversations with their dad, but I do believe this family, at least within their little pot of orcas, like Lala will say, I think that they will publicly protect each other and only speak highly of one another within their pod because that's the united front. And I'm sure that they, at this point, choose to deal with some of the struggles that they might be dealing with inside that home privately. And I'm sure that there's a lot of struggles in that home. Now,
Oh, yeah.
oif, let's get
The
to
struggles
this.
are struggling.
Jen Fessler and Dolores calling this Last Supper. It started off like I knew when we were doing the countdown of the ladies walking in. Jason asked me, he said, who's going to be last? I said, Teresa, obviously. Even when she walks in and she goes, oh my God, am I the last one? And they're like, girl, we all get call times like 8 minutes apart. So you knew that you were the last one. Oh my God, save the best for last. And Dolores and Jen were like, we're going to have a conversation where we're going to put everything there and we're going to try to fix it. Then Dolores goes, so Jen, Aiden, Danielle, we're starting with you. And I'm like, oh, that's where we start? Like you just like, she didn't even, there wasn't even a pause. She's like, we're going to have a conversation and we're going to try to repair this. Jen, Aiden, Danielle, go. And I was like, that's how you do it? Like, first of all, I never want you two mediating shit for me. Okay, nothing. I love them. Terrible idea. But when Jen, Aiden, and Danielle start talking, I already knew. I knew this was not going to be good. And Jen, Aiden's like, when I go home at night, my husband's there waiting for me, smiling, and he's happy to see me. And I think that you sit inside your house and you cry at night. And I think that you put on, oh, I have 15 Ferraris, 37 bathrooms. I have this great Turkish life and a jewelry store. And I think that you're really sad inside. And Jennifer Aiden's pretty much like, you want this life, bitch. You want to be me. You want the 39 Ferraris. You want Bill. You don't got a Bill. You got a Nate with man boobs while you have the brawn. I was like, not man boobs while you have the brawn. Now you're,
my gosh.
And this is the second time that Jen Aiden has gotten in trouble for shaming somebody on their body, which is
Justice for Gabby from Philly. The girl from BravoCon that she called
Big boy.
Big
Okay,
boy.
Big boy, come back here. Were you in that audience?
I was in the room. The time stopped. Like I melted. Like what happened? Like the world around the Bravo sphere stopped.
I was like, that woman is going to jump on stage and beat your ass, girl. You better hope you have security here because she's not a housewife, you know?
Right.
And mind you, Gabby from Philly, right? That's what you said?
Gabby from Philly.
Gabby from Philly, to be fair, in that moment, the way that she came to the mic, she was 1000% trying to provoke a reaction from Jennifer Aiden, the way that she delivered. And she got what she asked for. And Jen Aiden is sort of like a Candace Diller Bassett in the sense that she's like, if you're going to pick at me, you don't get to tell me how elevated my response is going to be. You don't get to dictate to me how aggressive I get once you open that can of worms. There's no, okay, well, you only said this much, so I have to stay here at the same level. I'm going to say what I want to say. And that's what happened. When you say that time stopped, I felt like I was like freeze frame, like, Jennifer Aiden, are you about to get your ass beat, girl? Because I'm scared.
Right.
Like, I hope you don't run into her in Vegas. I hope you're not walking through the casino and you don't get like yanked and mollywopped. Like,
Right.
I don't know.
I love the fact that Gabby from Philly is so confident to go up and just like troll in person. Like I sit behind a keyboard on a website. Like I am literally the troll behind
That's
the
your
website. Like
takeaway.
this. What was that?
That's your takeaway. I love that you are a public troll.
Yeah, this is the troll from behind the scenes. But I love the fact that Gabby went up and was like, you know what, we troll online. I'm just going to ask. What really, really I found concerning was the fact that Jennifer Aiden like went over. She didn't leave the stage, but she like got like kind of like in her space. And then Teresa came up and started to, teaming up with Jen, and they were both just yelling at her. I just found it very intimidating. Like the fact that these are two celebrities literally on a stage yelling at a fan, somebody who paid to be there. Like, sure, she was shady as hell, but like it's BravoCon. Like this is literally the assignment.
Also, I want to say too, she got in trouble for the body shaming and that. But then she also last night body shamed Nate, and Danielle and Nate just posted a thing on their Instagram. Did you see it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Hold on, let me just
Naughty news girl here.
hold on real quick. I'm just gonna play this. Danielle Cabral, let me just bring it up. Come on, guys. Danielle Cabral. Here we go. Sorry about that. I just wanted you to see it. Here we go. Okay, so she said, checkmate. Sometimes I find myself wanting to clap back bite at everyone who barks at me, but then I look at those people and I literally, it's like literally look at them. What kind of life are they living? The choices they're making, the things they do compared to who we are, what we do, and how we live. And she's pretty much saying that she loves her husband. He's beautiful. And
skin to me. I need more. I think we got to.
So I'm going to take off the audio of it, but she did a photo shoot with him, and this was her checkmate sort of situation. And she was saying, I want you to show skin. And he starts talking about this, saying, I was heavier when I was younger. I was a bigger guy. I've been shamed for this for a long time. And people say that I have double D's, and people make fun of my chest. And she was like, show it off. So she took a negative into a positive. But he did say, as a man, which, a lot of people think that it's only women who deal with body issues or body image issues. That's not true. Like I also growing up dealt with really, really bad body dysmorphia. So when I see it and I look at Jennifer Aiden, and I like Jennifer Aiden on the show for the most part, but when I listen to you and then you're going on Ozempic because you're not happy with yourself, I'm like, why would you do that to somebody knowing that you had to resort to a drug that wasn't even prescribed to you?
Mm-hmm.
And or at least I don't think it was. I don't know.
Of course it was not.
Yeah, you had to resort to Ozempic in order to get to a place where you were happier about yourself, knowing when you weren't on Ozempic, you weren't happy about the way you looked. Why would you do that to somebody? That's evil.
It's evil. And again, just low hanging fruit. Like, I just feel like if you have to go to somebody's physical appearance, like something that they can't control, that's just never okay. And I don't like it. And I love, Danielle's response. I love that she made that video. And another time that they tried to, and I'm kind of indifferent towards Danielle. She seems, I don't like the physicality. We talked about this last time I was on, but did you see the video of her from MTV when she won the biggest Britney Spears fan contest? Like people started putting that video out to embarrass her. And she's like, you know what? I love Britney Spears and that's okay. And if you want to put this video out to make fun of me, but I'm standing by it. I love Britney and I this is who I am. And I appreciated that from her.
Yeah, if you're going to make fun of her for anything, make fun of her for the reality TV show that was based out of Staten Island that went nowhere. Or the True Life, whatever that was.
Oh my gosh.
Was awful. But the Britney.
Make fun of the fact that these women can't like behave like adults without putting their hands on each other. Like we are grown women in our 30s and 40s. Like get it together. Some of them are in their 50s. Come on.
Did you see when Danielle was like, yep, and like went to grab stuff. Things were just like going across the table. Did you see Teresa and Dolores block Jen Aiden faster than the security could?
No, I'm gonna have to watch it for a third time.
My God, they just go back and rewatch that scene. They jumped in front of Jen. Both of them lunged in front of Jen, and then the security guard came from behind, and Teresa was like shaking. And I was really shocked where Rachel and Teresa were like, "This has to stop." And then Melissa Gorga, of course, comes in and she's like, "Oh, Seth's the one who's famous for flipping the table." And I was like, "Oh shit, here we go."
I mean, she's not wrong, but like also at the same time, like we all know this to be fact. Like, is this the time or the place? Kind of like when Teresa went up to Danielle and was like telling her, like, it's never good to put your hands on somebody. I'm like, well, duh. Like, she doesn't need this conversation right now. She's hot and heated. Like, your words are literally going nowhere. It was like literally the most ridiculous conversation. I have to say, I was so disappointed. I mean, as a viewer, I loved it. I was so disappointed with the language that the women chose to use with each other. And again, just proving that they've not grown. I don't like Melissa calling her sister-in-law WHITE trash. Like, that's just, we have better vocab. Maybe not everybody has a better vocabulary than that, but those of us who have a better vocabulary than that, we can maybe use different words.
They could have even said, "You're insane. You're ridiculous."
Yeah, you're
This is
acting
wild.
childish. You're being petulant. You're whatever.
Give us a Paris Hilton. You are so beyond right now.
I mean, you don't have to be a wordsmith to not be able to use those kind of derogatory terms. But what really got me, I'm used to Teresa screaming ridiculous things towards Melissa about being a whore, a stripper, but like, are we still like slut shaming? And are we still insulting sex workers? Like, I grew up in Vegas. Like, I live in Vegas. Like, in my college, like the girl who was our homecoming queen was a dancer at one of the strip clubs. Like, maybe I'm just normalized that I live in Vegas and sex work is just literally everywhere here, from the strip clubs to the models to the everything. Like, you can't be a bartender without being in your underwear. Like, I just don't, again, low-hanging fruit, calling somebody like, it's just ugly and gross. But what really got me, and I hated this, I hated when Teresa insulted Joe Bonino for being a plumber. That was vile. Like, I hate it when people insult other people who have credible jobs. Like, imagine not having plumbers in our life. That's disgusting. Like, they do all the work. Like, we have running water. We have functioning toilets because of them. We need to be tipping our hats to them.
And Joe's doing just fine, actually.
He's doing well. There's nothing wrong with being a plumber. It's a great profession.
My stepmom works for this 30-year-old couple down in Florida, and they just bought their family's plumbing business that I don't want to like say too much that I don't know about, but I believe they bought it for a very low price because it needed a lot of work, and they've turned it into a $500,000 business a year. So yes, it's one of the things that when AI takes over and you go into McDonald's and you don't have workers anymore because you order at the screen and then a little robot brings it out. It's one of the things that you're still going to need. A plumber, an electrician. These people are still going to exist. My dad's an electrician. But when Margaret said your dad was a
cobbler, yeah.
A cobbler. I was like,
and Teresa's, again, sorry, but too dim to realize, like, yeah, I came from that kind of background too. Like, she's just not able to wrap her head around the fact that, like, I came from this. She just reminded me of that. She doesn't have the ability to stop and say, oh my gosh, I literally just got caught in my own shit. Like, I literally stepped in it and can't pull myself out.
Well, and also saying, I mean, I thought Teresa would have lunged across the table because I know that she doesn't mess around with her parents. And when Margaret said that, I'm like, that's a good point. But if you talked about my dad wasn't here, this, especially with somebody who has that sort of fire in them, this could be really bad. But it didn't turn out bad. So now here we go, switching the conversation, because Danielle gets ushered out. Dolores comes back. She says, Jen, can you sit at the table with Danielle or no? Are you afraid for your life? Are you afraid? And Dolores she's so funny because that's such an instigative way of saying that. She's like, are you afraid, Jen? Are you afraid, or can she come back in the room? Yeah, are you threatened? And Jen's like, no, bring her back in. Bring her back in. You guys dress for a funeral. I dress for a party. I don't know what your problem is. Like, I'm good. Bring her back in. So Danielle comes in. She has to come sit at the other end of the table. And then lo and behold, now it's the next side of the table where it's Teresa versus Margaret and Rachel Fuda. And she's like, shut your big hot dog lip mouth, you bitch. And I'm like, what is happening?
This is my dog's hot dog toy. This is my Teresa impression as per Margaret.
My God. I literally.
See, I don't like making fun of people's appearances. Like, again, that's just kind of gross. But like, if you do it to yourself, like she chose to look like that. She paid to do that. Like, if it makes her feel good about herself, cool. But
yeah.
It reminds her of hot dogs and she was being honest.
I mean, listen, guys. Yes, by the way, Jason is in the room. So everybody say hi to Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Hot dog lips. Jason, when are you coming to London? Okay. Jason will be back soon, you guys. He will be back. My husband used to do YouTube with me all the time, and then he started helping out a friend here, but he's coming back to, like, we're doing other things. So everybody always asks me, what happened to him? Where did he go? And then I see in the comments, they're like, oh, something's wrong. And I'm
he's not like buried in the backyard or anything. Like,
no,
he's
I'm
good.
like, he's literally
safe.
laying in bed watching House of Dragon right now, 30 feet away from me. So
I can't wait. No spoilers on the finale. I was so focused on this to where I put House of Dragon on pause. That's a big deal for me.
That's when you know, girl. That's when you know. All right. So Margaret, in this episode, Jason and I felt when watching it that she was sort of, is vindicated an appropriate word?
Yeah.
Do you feel like she was kind of vindicated in this episode?
Yeah. I think she's the final girl. If this were a horror movie, she would be the last one standing. I think that Margaret gave the performance of her lifetime on this episode. And whereas I was all for, like, just, you know what, let's scratch it all. Let's just start fresh. I really think Margaret might be able to move forward. And she did nothing wrong. Well, maybe I can't say she did nothing wrong, but this whole thing, like the whole smoking gun, the whole Teresa thing, the thing that Teresa, it feels like she would have gone to the grave saying that Margaret was behind it. She was wrong on every level, and she looks so idiotic.
Do you think, were you surprised? Okay, so were you surprised when Jen was like, no, Teresa, I think you should listen to her. Like, let her speak. I think that you need to hear this, Teresa. And Teresa was seeing black. She was like, or red, or whatever people say when you like see, like, you're just like,
yeah,
you're not
no,
seeing.
She's a matador who saw red. No, 100.
Yeah, you're just like, you're seeing like nothing. You're just so pissed. You're like, no, I know. Her husband gassed her up to come there. Margaret was enemy number one. And when that little turn of events happened, she already committed to coming in and ripping Margaret apart. Already, like, threw insults at her husband, everything. And then when she dropped the bomb, Teresa was like, and Jen was like, she's going to need a minute to process that. I'm telling you guys right now.
Well, Jen was the voice of reason, and she's not a very reasonable person.
No.
But even she knows. She's like, well, what Jen said earlier in the conversation, she's like, Teresa, you know you have the proof. You know you have the facts. What is she going to say? And then Jennifer at least listened, because Teresa was matador. You know, she was a bull seeing red. And the whole thing was Margaret wasn't behind it. And I really don't think that Teresa's brain was in the room when that information dropped, because she should not have reacted like any. And people are like, why is Melissa bringing up the cookies all these years later? But like, that's kind of where my mind went too. I'm like, so hold on, we're literally holding sprinkle cookies against somebody, and this is legal. This has cost thousands of dollars in legal fees, tens of thousands of dollars at least.
And there was no reaction. And then when Margaret called it out, and Jackie is like, no, shut up, Margaret. And then Melissa chimed in. She's like, you shut up too. I was like, oh, this is somebody who's so backed into a corner right now. That is like, you don't know what to do. Like what Dolores said, you need a diaper. Like
Right.
she was literally,
Yeah.
she was just wetting herself in that moment.
Jackie
Like
went
being like,
from this, she was like, "Pew." She became like a little tiny fraction of a human. Like she just demolished in front of our eyes. It was wild. And I have to say, it felt like an Agatha Christie whodunit. Like I really felt like it was like a book. Like it's Margaret. We have all this stuff, and then all of a sudden we're gonna pull the rug from everybody. The blame is on Jackie, and then it felt like it went from being like a whodunit to like the end of like a Shakespearean tragedy where it's just a literal bloodbath. And I feel the only person standing at the end was Margaret Josephs, and that was not the way I anticipated this ending.
it was not the way I anticipated it ending either. And I kind of low-key loved it. I mean,
I loved it.
I hated seeing, because you never want to watch somebody walk away and just see them totally deflated, like you said. But the wind was knocked out of her sails. She became a shell of a human. She said, "All right, babe, I'll call you later." But she didn't know what to say. And when she looked over and she's like, I didn't talk to, no, okay, I talked to her. And I was like,
the lack of reaction that Teresa gave, everybody else at the table made up for. And whether or not you like Danielle, the girl gives great reaction shots. Like she gave a great reaction shot at the table. And then the confessional, she served. It was amazing. It was wonderful to see.
I died. And last but not least on this final meeting of the minds, who the hell hosts a meeting of the minds and ends up walking out as the host?
I think I might have an unpopular opinion. If you look at Taste of Reality's Instagram right now, my business partner Imani posted something like, exactly what you just said. How are you going to throw a party and be the first one to leave if there's conflict? Maybe I was a little bit hypersensitive to Dolores and her mental health with the reunion and whatnot. I have to say, as a girly with a autoimmune disease, I have multiple sclerosis, and when I get hella stressed, like my body shuts down. And I felt Fessler in that moment like nobody's business. I was like, oh yeah, my body couldn't handle that. Like it's not worth me not having like the ability to move for the next 2 days to deal with this nonsense. I'm getting out of here. So like I feel I might be one of the few people who actually was like, yeah, Jennifer Fessler, I feel you, but I actually love that she walked away from it because I would have done the same thing. I can't handle that.
Do you think that Jen Fessler, after she found out what happened when she left, was like, shit, why didn't I stay for that? What, Jackie?
It would have been really, I mean, honestly, like it was the best ending to the movie that it could have been. Like, I don't think she would have wanted, you know what? No, I think that's a really good question you asked. I think she would have had no regrets leaving until she heard how good the movie ended. And she was like, yeah, I should have stayed.
Oif. All right. So now knowing what we've seen with the finale and knowing that we have this upcoming Sunday, the ladies in separate rooms watching back, it's sort of like a compilation of their time on the show, plus what got them to this point where they started, how far they've come, and how far things have fallen. Is that something that, do you even need it as a viewer, or could you have just left off with the finale? Like, do you need their reactions to this? Does it even make sense? Or do you think it's just like, it's a filler episode?
I feel like it's going to be a filler episode. I thought we were going to maybe get something out of it, but I feel like the resolution we got is that there's not going to be resolution.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I really was, I thought it was great that Melissa has finally made peace with like, hey, you know what? I finally just said, it's not going to work out with me and Teresa. This is just not going to be how our life works. Like at some point you have to stop trying.
You got to stop trying.
Because it's just not, it's going to stress you out and it's just not worth it.
I agree. All right, guys. Well, this was one hell of an episode. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I definitely enjoyed this recap with you, Ashley. If you guys did not watch the episode, even though we recapped it here with all of you in the live chat, over 1,300 guys, smash the like button, show some love. definitely still go back and watch it. I know we recapped it, but it's fun to watch for yourself and actually see the moments as they play out, and just be mindful of some of the little things that we were telling you guys about, because like Ashley said, she went back and rewatched. It's like rewatching a movie and catching the little scenes that you weren't really paying attention to before, but go watch it. Watch it. I think you guys will enjoy it. Thank you, Janine. Great live. Ashley, you absolutely killed it. If they don't know, let's go through the socials and let them know where they can find you.
All right. So that's our Instagram page. I am 50% of Taste of Reality. I have a business partner, Imani, who does most of the social media. I chime in from time to time, but she is amazing. Again, it's two of us. We don't always align on our ideas and beliefs on Bravo. We're usually on the same page, but you'll see a lot of Imani on the Instagram, and I'm the one who does most of the articles. Imani does a great job. She does a lot of the recaps. We're going to get a Jersey recap from her. They're hilarious, so thoughtful. And we love what we do. We are a gossip blog. We want to bring you the news, but what sets us apart is that we are your girlies for locations. We like to go to all the places that they go to on reality TV, tell you what to hit, tell you what to miss. We're actually doing a whole Vanderpump weekend coming up this weekend. We're going to LA on Friday, and we're going to be
your sandwich.
Yeah, we're going to finally get our sandwich. We have reservations at Tom Tom. We have reservations at Something About Her. We're going to 2 of the new Bravo experiences that popped up in LA. So come to Taste of Reality for all things Bravo and beyond.
When you go to Tom Tom or and Something About Her, look for my friend Logan Cochran. Love him.
Yes, we know Logan.
Okay. Definitely tell him I said hello.
We love him. He's friends with our girl Ariana.
Yeah,
and
we love
you.
My God. Logan's such a bitch, but I love Logan. Like do you know who Emily D. Baker is? Do you know who Emily D. Baker is?
The lawyer, of course. I saw her at BravoCon and I fanned out so hardcore.
Oh, so love Emily. And she was so funny because at BravoCon, I introduced her to Logan and I was like, hey, how are you? And he's like, I'm good. I definitely look better than you right now. And I was like, why are you such an asshole? Like, I'm saying hi. I missed you. He's like, oh my God, I missed you too. Can I have a hug? And Emily looks at us and she's like, I can't. I was like afraid that you guys were going to fight. And I said, no, we're just catty bitches, I guess. I don't know. Like, that's just our love language. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. And we love Logan. And we were going to ask you off the air if there's anybody you could recommend for us to maybe have us be our server, because we want only the finest at our experiences.
Well, I hate that Pump is over because that was my favorite. I honestly don't know anybody at Sir anymore. And at Tom Tom, I would either ask for JoJo Guads or Brett Kenyon because they'll give you the tea. And I don't know I know Logan was at Tom Tom managing last time I saw him when Jason and I went in town to host Sheena's show last year, but he was just waiting for Something About Her to open up. So I'm pretty sure he's just running Something About Her. So I don't know if you would see him anymore at Tom Tom.
Well, we hope to see him at Something.
Oh, you're right, Jason. Charlie from Tom Tom. Yes, ask for Charlie.
Charlie.
Oh, Charlie. Yes, Jason's like, Charlie. Charlie's also a funny bitch. Charlie is another catty gay that is just so much fun, and he will give you all of the tea. There is not a care. If you just want it, he'll give it to you, and he'll have the best time with you while making sure that you guys are so well taken care of, for sure.
We can't wait.
Yes, definitely. And Ashley,
for a good time, Jason says.
Yeah, for a good time. Yeah, Jason, I didn't even know that you were going to be in here. My God, you guys, he's back. What happened to him? Jason, they think I buried you in the backyard.
He's not buried in the backyard. This is good news, friends.
For all of you guys who are on the East Coast right now, I know that Hurricane Debbie is going through. My family's in Florida. Jason and I are in South Carolina. And I know that the hurricane is hitting everywhere in between over the next few days, that there's going to be a lot of flooding, a lot of damage, and a lot of still water. So if you guys are driving, if you have to travel anything, just be super careful. And if you guys have the chance, make sure you stock up on everything now. I know that some people think that hurricanes are a fun time where you get to stay home, run the generator, have a party, but really they can be incredibly devastating. So just keep an eye out, be safe, make sure that your family's safe, and stock up. With that, hopefully we see you guys on Friday. And Ashley, if you're around, I would love to have you back.
I'm around.
Yes.
Actually, I won't be around this weekend because I'll be in LA, but otherwise I'm here for you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. I appreciate
Yes.
that. All right, guys, smash the like button. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. Up and Adam channel 1 and 2. I have more videos coming to you today. And we're also back to posting the polls and the community tabs. And if you just want the short form content, then go over to TikTok. We're almost at 100,000 followers, subscribers, whatever they call it on TikTok. But we love it. And we love being able to do this with you guys. So we'll see you next time and happy Monday. Bye, guys.